and she will command them. Sometimes she goes as far as holding a cane. Everybody kneel down here. If you come late, I will not serve you. If you don't wash your plates, I will not serve you. Instantly, Sarah poured the food away, claiming she had mistakenly hit the plates. Zarah was so furious and shouted at them, "Coerce! How dare you pour my food away?" In a lively village, nestled beside a flowing river and surrounded by lush greenery, there lived a chubby woman named Zarah. She was famous for her delicious food, especially her big pots of jollof rice that seemed to have magical flavors. Every day, villagers flocked to her store, eager to taste her meals. Little did they know that Zarah had a secret that no one else could see. Everyone thought she was just a good cook and vendor, not knowing she was evil. You see, the thing is that Zarah has two horns on her head that no one saw. Only those with spiritual signs can see the horns. But unfortunately, nobody in the village has that gift of seeing spiritually. She has an imposing figure and commands her customers. She will go ahead to say sometimes, "Make sure you wash your plate before coming to me." Everybody line up, to the extent that she threatens them not to come back again. And you see the villagers begging, "Zarah, please don't go." "Zarah, we love your jollof rice. No problem. We will wash our plates. We will even wash the pot for you. Even we can sweep your compound and do anything you ask us to do as long as you keep bringing your jollof rice," they plead, and she will command them. Sometimes she goes as far as holding a cane. "Everybody kneel down here. If you come late, I will not serve you. If you don't wash your plates, I will not serve you." And the villagers will keep trooping in and out, begging Zarah, and they still pay her, of course. If only they knew Zarah was evil. Nobody could see the horns on her head. As far as they were concerned, they only saw a chubby woman who sells a delicious pot of rice in public, and no one knew where she cooked her meals from. She never cooked in the restaurant. Neither do they know her house. They only see that she has arrived at the store with her hot pot of jollof rice, and they didn't care to know as far as they tasted her food. Despite the large pot of rice she sells daily, she never had a staff to assist her, not even one. She does everything herself at the store. Different people came to seek a job at her store. "Zarah, you don't have an assistant. Neither do you have a staff helping you at all. Please employ us. We would like to work for you. At least let us serve your customers for you. At least let us serve your customers for you," they would say. And Zarah would instantly dismiss them, saying to them, "Did I tell you that I need a staff? I can do everything by myself. Or is my jollof rice not sweet enough? Don't worry. You don't have to bother. I don't need a staff. Please just leave here." And you will see the people going back. The mysterious thing about Zarah's food that the villagers did not know was that anyone who eats her food automatically loses their destiny because Zarah uses it to fortify herself. Pregnant women lose their pregnancy. A few weeks after childbirth, they lose their baby. Any single woman who eats her food automatically has a spell on them that makes them remain unmarried until at least 70 years. Different mysteries kept happening in the village, but no one was able to connect the dots. And they didn't even care as far as the jollof rice kept on coming. Everything seemed to be okay to the villagers, while the villagers saw Zarah as a warm-hearted vendor who was determined to serve them a hot pot of jollof rice. A young girl called Tara, with a strong sense of humor and instinct. began to notice an unsettling pattern in the way Zarah operates. One afternoon, Tara watched as a young woman who had just lost her baby came to Zarah's store eager to buy a meal. Looking sad and crying about the loss of her baby, she almost fell. Instead of helping her, Zarah said to her, laughing, "Don't worry, my dear. Just enjoy the food and forget about your baby. The food is of more value to you than your baby. After all, that is why you are always here to buy food." Tara was surprised at what Zarah said to the woman, a woman who had just lost her baby. She thought to herself, "What is wrong with this Zarah? How can she say that to her customer? She can't even be polite or nice to this grieving woman." Anyways, she felt there's something wrong with Zarah and she must find out. Another time, Tara and Noel, her friends, sat nearby, under the shade of a large baobab tree, and overheard a conversation between two villagers. "I swear I keep forgetting things after eating Zara's food," one said, scratching his head. "I can't even recall what I did last week." "I can't even recall what I did last week." The other nods, looking troubled. "I thought it was just me. My husband hasn't been himself lately. He just wants to eat and sleep. All he does is to go to Zarah to eat." Tara feels a chill. Could Zarah's food be causing this? She thought again. As Tara digs deeper, she witnessed Zarah performing small mysteries every morning, each time she arrives with her hot pot of jollof rice. One time, she saw Zarah stirring a pot with strange herbs while whispering to herself. The steam from the hot pot of jollof rice steamed higher as Zarah kept on stirring. Tara realized that Zarah is using herbs to enhance her magical powers, binding the villagers to her will. She summoned courage and confronted Zarah. She said to her, "Zarah, I know you are evil, and I promise to find your secret and expose you very soon. Bet me." Zarah did not respond. Instead, she gave a mischievous smile. The very next morning, Tara was found lifeless in her bed, her room eerily quiet. The villagers mourned her loss, never knowing what truly happened. The villagers gossiped and spoke about the death of Tara that morning in Zarah's restaurant. And Zarah said, "Oh no, what could have happened to that strong, determined girl? Oh, she was my very good customer. She even came directly to me yesterday. Oh no," she cried with the villagers, who were also crying for Tara at her restaurant. But no one knew exactly what had happened to this innocent young woman. Zarah's food continued to become the center of attention in the village, and her power grew stronger. Still, no one could see the two horns on her head, as it remained invisible in their eyes. One day, two strangers arrived at the village. They were nice Youth Corps members. One is called Jay, while the other one is called Sarah. The Youth Corps members were sent to serve in the village for 1 year. Jay was a rash man who never cared about anything. He heard about the delicious pot of jollof rice Zarah sold and decided to have a taste of it. Sarah, on the other hand, was a more reserved and quiet girl. She said to Jay, "Jay, that you've been hearing about how delicious this woman's hot pot of jollof rice is does not mean you should taste it immediately. Besides, you don't even know the source. Why don't you wait to observe carefully before you eat?" But Jay refused to listen. "I will be fine. Don't worry," he said, brushing off Sarah's warnings. "I want to taste this famous rice. I'm very sure it will be very delicious, just like that of my mother." Sarah kept trying to convince Jay, but all her actions were of no fruit. She decided to follow Jay to the restaurant just to see the environment and how things are playing out there. As Sarah and Jay arrived at Zara's restaurant, Zarah welcomed them with so much joy and said, "Oh, Kor, welcome to our village. I am so happy to have you in my restaurant. I am so happy to have you in my restaurant. I like your outfit. It fits you very well. Sit down. Let me feed you a hot plate of jollof rice." Zarah served them the jollof rice. Sarah refused to eat, claiming she was very full and would eat some other time. Jay, on the other hand, picked up the 2 plates of rice since Sarah refused to eat and said, if you're not eating, I will eat it for you." And he started to eat. As he took his first bite, he felt an odd sensation wash over him. The taste was unlike anything he'd ever had, rich and comforting. He turned to Sarah, who was looking at him with so much disdain and seriousness, sensing the dark energy emanating from him. Jay kept on eating, but felt a sensation. He said to Sarah, "Sarah, I don't feel good about this food. I think I should stop eating it before this sensation gets worse. I feel strange, as if something is working into my body." Instantly, Sarah poured the food away, claiming she had mistakenly hit the plates. Zarah was so furious and shouted at them, "Kor, how dare you pour my food away?" The story of Zarah serves as a powerful lesson. Appearances can be deceiving. It teaches us to question what seems too good to be true, to observe patterns, and to trust our instincts when something feels wrong. Blind trust, especially when paired with personal gain, can lead to grave consequences. The villagers ignored the strange occurrences surrounding Zara's food because they prioritized their enjoyment over their safety, ultimately paying the price. Ultimately paying the price. This tale also highlights the importance of courage and persistence, as seen in Tara's determination to uncover the truth. However, it warns us of the dangers of confronting evil without proper preparation or support. Evil often thrives in secrecy and complacency, feeding off the silence and ignorance of those around it. The lesson here is clear. Stay vigilant. Question what you consume, be it food, information, or services, and never hesitate to speak out against wrongdoings. Protect yourself and your community by prioritizing truth and caution over temporary pleasures. Thank you for watching my channel, and I hope you found this story and its lesson meaningful. Stay safe and alert. But just when they were about to leave the room, something unexpected happened. Bees started coming out of the calabash. They were stinging them. They ran out all the way to the village square, and right there, in front of everyone, including Amara, Yemi's mother started confessing. Once upon a time, in a small village surrounded by lush green hills and a tranquil stream, there lived a boy named Amara. He had been deaf and mute since he was born. His father, a well-respected farmer, died in a big fire incident long ago. People blamed Amara for his father's death because he was the one cooking the night their house got ablaze, but no one really knew what happened. The memory of the fire haunted the village, with the charred ruins of Amara's old home still standing as a reminder. Amara lived with his stepmother and stepsister, Zina, in a modest clay house on the outskirts of the village. They had a big farmland left by Amara's father, where maize and yams grew abundantly. They lived well, but Amara didn't. He had to do small jobs every day. Amara worked hard. He fetched water for people in the village, washed their clothes, and carried firewood from the forest, doing more jobs just to get money to feed himself because his stepmother wouldn't cater for him. Despite all this hard work, when Amara came back home in the evening, He still had to cook for his stepmother and Zina. They just sat and watched, happy to be taking advantage of Amara's disabilities. Amara couldn't say anything. He couldn't hear or speak, but he was kind and did his work. Sometimes, when Amara went to the village, people looked at him. Some felt sorry for him. They knew he was a good boy, but some believed he caused the fire. They whispered when he passed by, avoiding his gaze. But poor Amara couldn't defend himself because no one could understand because no one could understand him. After all, he couldn't speak. One night, as the crickets chirped and the moon cast a silver glow over the village, Amara had a dream. He saw the night of the fire. There was a shadow near the house, but it was hard to see who it was. This dream came to Amara often. It was like a puzzle he couldn't solve. Amara's life was not easy, but he didn't give up. He was strong and kind. Even with all the hard work and how people treated him, he kept going. Amara hoped that one day things would get better. One sunny day, Amara and his stepsister, Zina, went to the stream. They needed to fetch water. The stream, shaded by ancient trees, was where everyone in the village got their water, so it was a busy place with people coming and going. At the stream, they saw an old man dressed in tattered but clean clothes. He was trying to lift a heavy calabash full of water. It looked too heavy for him. Zina saw the man but didn't want to help. She just wanted to get her water and go back home. But Amara was different. He saw the old man struggling and felt sorry for him. Amara went to the man to help. He didn't think twice about it. He took the heavy calabash from the old man. Zina was not happy. She told Amara they didn't have time for this and that. If they got home late, she would tell her mother that Amara was playing in the stream. But Amara, who couldn't hear, didn't listen. He proceeded to help the man. The old man was so thankful. His wrinkled face lit up with a smile. He patted Amara on the shoulder. Amara felt happy he could help. The old man then told Amara something special. Using his hands to communicate with Amara, he said the calabash was magical. It could grant wishes. Amara didn't believe it at first, but the man insisted. He gave the calabash to Amara as a gift for his kindness. Amara didn't know what to say. He just held the calabash, looking at it. The old man then told him that when he was alone, he should open the calabash and make a wish. Anything he wished for, he would get. Amara thought about it, but before he could say anything, the man was gone. It was like he vanished. Amara went back home with Zina. He carried the magical calabash, its intricate carvings glinting in the sunlight. Zina was curious about it. She asked Amara what the old man said, but Amara couldn't tell her. He couldn't speak. He just showed Zina the calabash and smiled. Zina got more curious. She didn't understand why the old man gave Amara the calabash, but Amara couldn't explain. He just had a feeling that this calabash was important. When they got home, Zina told her mother everything. She spoke fast, her eyes were bright with excitement. She said, "Mama, Amara got a calabash. It was given to him by an old man at the stream." Her mother's eyes grew wide. She started to smile. They both thought of the same thing. They wanted that calabash. Amara came home later. He had the calabash with him. He was quiet, like always, but he had a small smile. He felt happy about the calabash. He didn't know Zina had told their mother. Zina and her mother waited. peering out the window for Amara's return. When Amara put down the calabash, they took it. They were fast. Amara turned around, and the calabash was gone. He saw Zina and her mother. When his stepmother asked, "Where did you get this beautiful calabash, and what is its purpose?" Amara's heart started to race. He felt sad and afraid. He wanted to cry, but he didn't. He knew if he didn't tell the truth, his stepmother would beat him. So he explained using sign language with his hands. "It is a magical calabash. I got it from an old man at the stream. It can grant wishes." Eager to make use of the magical calabash for themselves, Zina and her mother went to their room. They were excited. They opened the calabash. They wished for money, jewels, and many things. But nothing happened. They tried again still. Nothing. They were confused and got really mad. They didn't understand what was going on. But just when they were about to leave the room, something unexpected happened. Bees started coming out of the calabash. They were stinging them. They ran out all the way to the village square, and right there, in front of everyone, including Amara, Zina's mother, started confessing. She said she was the one who set their house on fire when Amara's father died. She was behind Amara's mother's death, too. She was the one who made Amara deaf and mute when he was born. She had used a charm from an herbalist. Amara stood there, sad, crying. But what nobody knew was that Amara had already opened the calabash before he got home, right after he left the old man. He whispered his wish into it, a wish to be able to speak and hear. And then, in front of everyone, Amara started to speak. His voice was clear. His words were perfect. The villagers couldn't believe their ears. This story reminds us of the power of kindness, resilience, and truth. Amara's journey from silence to being heard shows that perseverance and good deeds can lead to transformative moments. The magical calabash was not just a gift, but a symbol of justice and redemption. Thank you for watching. And if you enjoyed this story, please like, share, and subscribe for more inspiring tales. Don't forget to turn on notifications to stay updated with our latest stories. See you next time. Once upon a time, in a small town where the sun rose bright over red clay rooftops and the rivers flowed sweet, there lived a man named Alexander, but he was popularly called Mr. Aloo by most of the people. The town's narrow paths were lined with low, mud brick houses, each painted in faded colors that once shone like festival banners. Mr. Aloo was poor, so poor that his pockets were as empty as a dried-up well, while other men wore crisp, embroidered tunics and spoke big words learned from books. Mr. Aloo had no fancy words to share. You see, Mr. Aloo couldn't read or write. He was the only man in the village who had never gone to school, and because of this, everyone looked down on him, whispering behind woven straw fans as he passed. Mr. Aloo had a big family, so large it was like a field filled with flowers after the rainy season. He had 4 wives, each one more stubborn than the last, and 10 daughters, each as beautiful as moonlight shining through palm leaves. Yet, the stubbornness and pride in his household were as thick as the warm evening air. Even with his large family, Mr. Aloo was alone. Mr. Aloo was alone. The villagers often gathered under the old baobab tree, sipping watered millet porridge, and whenever Mr. Aloo would walk by, They'd nudge each other and say, "Look at Mr. Aloo. The man doesn't even know his letters." He never answered back. He just kept his head down, focusing on the dusty ground beneath his calloused feet. His heart felt heavy, like a stone at the bottom of the village well, and as he walked, he could feel their laughter trailing behind him like restless shadows in the afternoon sun. But what no one in the village knew was that Mr. Aloo was keeping a big secret. He was, in fact, a billionaire, the richest man in the village, though he owned no fine robes or fancy trinkets. He kept it from everyone because there was more to his wealth than even his wives or daughters knew. You see, Mr. Aloo's story was just getting started, and soon you'd realize why you shouldn't judge a book by its cover. A poor man today might be your helper tomorrow, and life in their quiet town had a way of revealing truths when no one expected it. When Mr. Aloo reached his 55th year, trouble knocked on his door, and he fell very, very ill. One day he woke up and found his hands as heavy as stones used to grind grain, his legs as stiff as dry branches stacked for firewood. He tried to lift them, but they wouldn't budge. It was as if his own body had turned against him. Seeing the father's struggle, Mr. Aloo's family hurried to find healers. They traveled to neighboring huts and distant compounds, carrying him like a sack of millet. At each healer's home, the air smelled of crushed leaves and bitter roots. Herbs were rubbed on his skin. Words were whispered over bowls of steaming brews, and he was given roots so bitter they made his lips curl. Yet, nothing worked. Not a drop of improvement. Mr. Aloo's sickness only grew, spreading through him like dark clouds before the first crack of thunder. As the days turned to weeks, his family grew weary. They spent all the money they had saved from their market sales, and still Mr. Aloo lay weaker than before. His hands wouldn't move, his legs lay still. The sickness held him like a fish trapped in a woven net, and his family's patience thinned as quickly as the last drops of rain in dry season. As Mr. Aloo lay helpless on a simple mat woven from river reeds, his family slowly turned their backs on him, one by one, like leaves falling from a tree in Harmattan winds. His wives looked at him with eyes full of regret, muttering in corners of the courtyard, "What a mistake we made marrying this useless man. We deserve better." Even his daughters, as lovely as stars scattered across a clear night sky, had no respect for him. They took pride in their fine beaded necklaces and delicate ankle bracelets that jingled when they walked. Each believed herself destined to marry a wealthy suitor who would shower her with gifts. When Mr. Aloo tried to speak, to tell them right from wrong, they would roll their eyes and laugh. "Why should we listen to you?" they sneered. "You're nothing but an illiterate old man. Go to school first before you tell us what to do." Their words stung Mr. Aloo's heart like thorns hidden in a rose bush. He could do nothing but lie there, the faint smell of dust and sweat around him, watching his own family drift further away. And so Mr. Aloo lay silent, his heart as heavy as a grinding stone. The illness turned from bad to worse, swallowing him up like a sudden storm at the edge of the rainy season. He could not control his own body, wetting himself, soiling his clothes of plain cotton. His daughters only laughed, wrinkling their noses as if he were a stray animal, mocking him in his misery. They did not lift a finger to help. No bowl of warm soup, no cup of cool water. They left him lying there, surrounded by stale odors, as if he were nothing more than a rag tossed in a corner. Only the kind neighbors took pity on him. Each day, a young boy or an old woman would bring a small bowl of simple porridge or boiled yam to leave beside him. They did not linger long. Life was busy with fields to tend and water to fetch. Yet they showed kindness, a gentle light in Mr. Aloo's darkness, something his own family could not offer. As if that were not enough, his daughters now brought strange men home, filling the evening air with loud laughter and the clink of half-empty cups. They danced, swayed in colorful wraps beneath the oil lamps, and ignored their sick father lying only a few steps away. He was as invisible to them as a broken basket shoved behind the granary. One bright afternoon, when the sun made the dust on the road shimmer like gold flakes, Mr. Aloo's eldest daughter came home with a tall, rich man by her side. His name was Karim, and he wore robes dyed a deep indigo, with patterns stitched along the cuffs. He stepped into the main room and saw Mr. Aloo lying weak and frail on a mat. Immediately, his eyes grew wide. Without a second thought, he dropped to his knees, bowing so low his forehead nearly touched the clay floor. "Ah, Baba," he greeted, his voice respectful. "It is an honor to be in your presence." Mr. Aloo's daughters gasped, nearly dropping their bracelets. They had never seen anyone show their father such respect, especially not a rich man like Karim. They looked at one another, their bangles clinking softly, hearts pounding. Had they misjudged their own father? As Karim rose, he noticed the stunned looks on their faces. The daughters stood like carved wooden statues, their mouths half open. Karim turned to them, eyes calm. "Do you not know your father? Baba Aloo is my employer. He owns the largest gold mine in this village." His words fell like thunder. The daughters' eyes widened, their hearts now pounding for a different reason. "Our father," one stammered. How could it be that the man they thought so poor and worthless was in fact the wealthiest in the land? Karim shook his head softly. "Your father may appear simple, but he is wiser than most. Years ago, he took 5 years away from the mine, leaving me as manager. He trusted me to handle the trade and the dealings while he stayed here, unseen and unheard." Shocked into silence, the daughters could only stare. The man they had mocked, ignored, and treated as an old fool was the richest man in the village. Now they saw him as if for the first time, remembering every scornful look and cruel laugh they had cast his way. Karim continued, his voice steady as the gentle current of the river. "This village sits on a treasure trove of gold. Many have grown wealthy, but the largest, richest mine belongs to your father, Baba Aloo. He kept it a secret to protect you. He knew wealth could attract danger, so he lived simply, ensuring no one would harm his family for riches." The daughters' faces grew pale. They realized the depth of their mistake. Karim looked upon them sadly. "Your father had a plan. He wanted to see who would stand by him if he had nothing. He pretended to be sick. He hoped his family would show love and care. But instead you all turned away, leaving him alone." The room fell silent, regret hanging in the air like smoke from a dying fire. His wives had left him, and his daughters had mocked him. Not one had shown true love. Their cruelty echoed in their memories, burning like hot embers. News of Mr. Aloo's wealth spread through the village like a sudden gust of wind, rustling every leaf. Those who had once laughed at him, fells who had once laughed at him, fell silent, their shame heavy. The daughters felt their hearts sink like stones dropped into deep water. The wives bit their lips, recalling their harsh words. They realized they had given up what could have been a life of comfort and joy because they believed Mr. Aloo was worthless. But now the truth shone brighter than the midday sun. Mr. Aloo knew who had cared for him without expecting anything in return. Instead of giving his wealth to the family who abandoned him, he honored those who had shown kindness, the neighbors who brought him a simple meal, the children who sometimes sang outside his door. One by one, Mr. Aloo thanked them. He gave sacks of rice and yams, coins that caught the light like tiny mirrors, clothes dyed in bright colors, and even small lumps of gold. Those who had blessed him with kindness were now blessed him with kindness, were now blessed in return. The village's dry fields of human compassion blossomed with gratitude and joy. In his final gathering with the villagers, Mr. Aloo stood under the gentle shade of the baobab tree. He spoke quietly, his voice as soft as a morning breeze. "Dear friends," he said, "though I pretended to be ill at first, fate has made it real. I have only 6 months left." A hush fell, and his daughters began to weep, tears rolling over faces once hardened with pride. They knelt, their colorful skirts pooling on the dusty ground. "Father, please forgive us," they cried. "We were blind. We did not see your kindness." Mr. Aloo's eyes, once filled with sorrow, now shone with understanding. "My daughters," he said softly, "I have seen your hearts. My love remains, but trust must be earned and respect must be earned and respect must be given freely." With those words, he turned to those who had stood by him without knowing his wealth, and so, surrounded by true kindness rather than empty flattery, Mr. Aloo spent his last days in peace. When he passed, the villagers remembered him not as a poor, uneducated man, but as a wise, generous soul who taught them that kindness and respect are treasures worth more than gold. His story remained in their hearts like a guiding star, reminding them always to honor those who stand by them when life's shadows grow long. I hope this story has reminded you that true wealth lies in kindness, compassion, and understanding. May it inspire you to look beyond what meets the eye and cherish those who stand by you in times of need. If you found value in this tale, please consider sharing it with those you love, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more heartwarming stories. Together, let's continue to learn, grow, and keep our hearts open. Thank you for watching, and I look forward to sharing more meaningful stories with you soon.